Hello, I've just finished watching a new film, and now I want to tell you about it. Predator, Killer of Killers, or Predator Cock, as I've taken to calling it, is an animated fantasy adventure anthology. There's 4 stories, each about a group of humans taking on a deadly predator. Micho Robert Rutter wrote the screenplay, and Dan Trachtenberg and Joshua Wasong directed the film. It stars Rick Gonzalez, Lindsay Levanchi, and Luis Ozawa. The first 3 stories are about 3 separate warriors throughout human history. There's a Viking woman and her tribesmen, a Japanese samurai and his brother, and an American pilot and his unit. Each of the stories tells us about one of the warriors and shows us a snippet of their life's journey. For the Viking woman, Ursa, we learn about her revenge mission. For the samurai, Kenshi, we see him fighting with his brother over who will be heir to their father's kingdom. In the third story, we see John Torres trying to become a fighter pilot in World War II. In the final story, all 3 warriors are brought together to fight one final battle against the ultimate hunter, the king of the predators. The cast play people from 4 separate cultures and make them distinct. Most of them deliver their lines in English with a thick regional accent, but during Kenshi's story and the final story, they speak in their own language and subtitles are provided for translation. The cast play their roles straight, like a serious drama, and there's a lot of stoic performances and big dramatic lines. The visual journey is animated in a cartoonish style that looks kind of like moving paintings. Each story gets a unique area with their own style, weaponry, and even predator. The fights are brutal, high-octane, coordinated dances of death that see the warriors take on a deadly fight before coming face-to-face with an even deadlier predator. For music, they have little bits of scored instrumentals. They add tension here and there and help up the stakes. Which brings me to my review. The story is exciting, the cast does a fantastic job of their roles, the visual journey is clear and creative, and the music is okay. Starting with the story, it's a big fight with little bits of story dribbled in. We start with Ursa's tribe going to war with another tribe, and then another mini-war between Vikings before a fight against a predator. Then in Kenshi's story, it's 2 minutes of backstory, 20 minutes of fighting. John Torres' story slows down just a tad, but then it's right back into the frying pan for another round. The non-stop action keeps things exciting. The stories they tell are short but super sweet, and the characters have just enough personality to make you root for them. The action is also incredibly creative and fun to watch. The cast does a fantastic job of their roles too, bringing all kinds of emotional depth to their stories that wouldn't be present otherwise. Gonzalez, Levanchi, and Ozawa do an especially good job, putting in a lot of work to make their emotional journeys satisfying. Levanchi manages to make Ursa sound like a husky berserker warrior while still being able to fit perfectly into the tender motherly role. Ozawa's Kenshi is a gentle warrior who speaks in prose. He manages to sound regal and refined while also exuding a quiet confidence. Gonzalez plays Torres like a brash young man. He's a bit goofy and comical, but has a lot of heart and ambition. Gonzalez makes all of that come out in the little bit of time he gets, and does a fantastic job playing off of the other 2. When the 3 of them are brought together, it makes for a fun Avengers-style team-up, and there's a lot of neat flavoring from the leads. Visually, the film gets its story across clearly and with enough panache to be memorable. The art style is great for building up cool-looking shots, and fantastic for combat. The fights are fast-paced, gory, and insanely fun to watch. I loved how they introduced a different weapon set for each of the time periods and had them face off against a predator with a similar set. It made the fights really fun and gave them a lot of different avenues to go down for kills. The kills were brutal. It was like watching a Mortal Kombat film with blood and guts flying everywhere. They also had a lot of standout moments in the fights. Big visual spectacles that look fantastic and will have you coming back for repeat viewings. Personally, I'll be obsessing over that scene of Torres falling through the air trying to get a shot. It's such a cool moment. As for the music, they did a good job building up tension during the action moments, but they didn't do much else with it. The tracks are very simple and come in at a fairly quiet volume, but they do manage to help up the ante of the story. Which brings me to the film's negatives. The story follows Looney Tunes levels of logic, and the music is kind of boring. Starting with the story. First off, the predators are highly inconsistent. Sometimes the predators are unstoppable killers, and sometimes they're mindless oafs patiently waiting for the heroes to figure out how to beat them. They deal with most humans in seconds, ripping them apart like they're cutting through butter. But when it comes to Ursa, Kenshi, and Torres, their brains suddenly fall out of their head. It made it a lot harder to feel the story's tension when it became clear they couldn't really harm the three warriors. They also strayed pretty far from the original Predator lore. I don't want to get too deep into it, but the story follows a path set out in the live-action Predators film from 2010 that completely breaks the original idea of what a predator was. Originally, predators were noble hunters that went off to other planets to hunt armed warriors in their prime. They had strict rules about what they could and couldn't do, and they followed them religiously. In this film, they follow some of those rules, but they also have a new set of ethics that tosses out the idea of the noble hunter and makes them seem more like Roman slavers than hunters. The music is also really bland. I mean, like porridge levels of bland. I barely even noticed there was music at first. I had to go back through the film just to get a good feel of it. They should have made it louder and used more complex tracks. They could have easily gotten the same feelings across while adding a ton of flavor. Instead, we just got mush. Personally, I find myself quite pleased with this film. I loved the voice acting, enjoyed the story, and found myself in awe of the visual journey. It was a lot of fun to watch and easy to get through. I don't know how well it fits into the Predator universe, but as a solo film, it's really well done. As for a rating, I'd give this film an 8 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Ta-ta!